Good morning. I wanted to come on this morning before I head off to work. I'm trying to get some stuff done on my products today. So let me get pulled in here a little bit better. Um, Made some all natural deodorant last night or yesterday when I got home from work, and it's all cured and set and ready to go. So I'm going to add that onto my website this morning if I get done in time. What I want to go over today is, first of all, my name is Laura. I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for over 21 years. I did keto for 28 years and then have been carnivore now over four. And I've done the lion, which is kind of strictest version of carnivore. Just feel my best that way. I've done that for over a year now. So I want to go over how to transition into a carnivore diet, depending on where you're coming from. Um, if you are coming from what we call the standard American diet, which is high carbs, high sugars, seed oils, please get off the seed oils if you do nothing else, and the carbs if you can. There we go. That's better. Anyway, videos on carnivore, follow a lot of the carnivore people in the space who have been doing this for a very long time. Myself, well, I've done keto for it'll be 33 years this year. The day before Thanksgiving will be my 33 years of doing almost zero carbs. So people who say longevity is not something you can do doing this, that's not true. I'm living proof. I'll be 53 next month. So you absolutely can do this long term. So anyway, so what I would recommend for you if you're coming from the standard American diet, I would transition slowly. If you're somebody who eats 3, 6 meals, I definitely would try to start there by cutting that back, maybe implementing more red meats, higher fat chicken, fish into your meals so that you stay full longer and try to get that down to 2 meals a day. And that'd be for a week or two. Then I would start to decrease the amount of carbohydrates that I was taking in. So if you're doing bread, cereals, things like that in the morning, I would try to transition that into like scrambled eggs, hard boiled egg, any kind of eggs, if you like eggs and can eat them, bacon, sausage. And you don't, you do have to pay attention to your labels because there's junk hidden in a lot of them, but there are more options out there. That you can do. And if you buy pork belly and make your own bacon, you can slice it up, put your Redmond's real salt or Celtic salt, pink Himalayan salt's better than nothing. Sea salt, you just have to watch where it's coming from. I would not recommend anything coming from China when it comes to salt because there's a lot of microplastics. Um, but I would integrate that into like your breakfast type food and see how much better you feel. Slowly, you'll want to do that with your lunches or whatever your second meal of the day is. Once you start doing that for a few weeks, it will be really easy for you to transition over. If you do not have a gallbladder or you have a slow, sludgy, stone filled gallbladder, you may benefit. I'm not a doctor, but you may benefit in taking something like an ox bile. If you know who Dr. Berg is on YouTube, you can go look up his videos on cholecystectomies, and which is bladder removal, gallbladder, or the stones, things like that, and the ox bile. He has lots of good information out there, so I would watch that. Um, Good morning, Nick. So the other thing is you have to know what your why is for wanting to go to carnivore. A lot of people are trying to avoid the hyper processed foods, the highly processed seed oils, sugars, carbs. Even some people have to, like, I had to get rid of even the vegetable carbs. People are like, you haven't had a vegetable in how many years? I just can't do it. It absolutely converts to sugar in my body extremely fast. Um, so, the CGMs, those continuous glucose monitors, now have FDA approval to be over the counter. Of course, that'll take months to get out to market. But, that's something that you could maybe invest in. Like, I'm somebody that I don't want frivolous things for Christmas. So I would be like, hey, if you want to get me something for Christmas and you're going to spend a couple $100, get me a CGM and the monitor to go with that. And, you can download an app on your phone for free and you can see what food is doing to you at all times. Um, so I'm not somebody who does a lot of counting. I'm not going to weigh out my food. I'm not going to count carbs. If you're somebody who does that, there's lots of things out there like Carb Manager. I don't remember the other one because I just don't use those things. I try to eat, like this morning, I had a half a pound hamburger with some ribeye fat, and I won't eat again until 1 o'clock, and then that's it. If I'm hungry at 1 o'clock, if I'm not, then I won't. I've made it up, so I have it. But so some people are the type of personality like myself where it is all or none. I jumped in headstrong from standard American diet to keto, did that for 28 years, and then jumped right into carnivore. And I did have some side effects from that, losing a lot of sodium, potassium, magnesium, stuff like that. So I don't necessarily recommend that unless you're an all or none personality. If you're somebody that can walk away from something that you're addicted to when you set your mind to it, then that's fine. Then you could do the jump in tomorrow. Just know that there are going to be some adjustments that your body has to do. I would say the majority of people, no matter how metabolically sick you are, that within 6 months or 6 weeks, you really should kind of be what they call fat adapted, where your body is used to using more fat um, as its energy source than it is sugar, which is wonderful. Once you get there, far as I'm concerned, I don't care if you do this for the rest of your life or if you just do it for 9 months, 6 months, something like that to see what other foods are causing you issues. Once you have taught your body to go back to the ability of being a fat burner, I think that's a wonderful thing. If you choose to kind of go slow, like I said, of transitioning in, which is fine. That a lot of people that works better for them. Just start with cutting out the carbs, decreasing the amount of meals. I don't necessarily say do extended fasting in the beginning. I did. That is something I did. I transitioned to carnivore and then immediately did a 5 or 7 day fast and ended up on the floor after I stood up out of bed. So I don't recommend that. Um, the main thing that we want to do with the ketogenic way of eating, whether that be keto, ketovore, or carnivore or lion diet, is you want to be in ketosis. And that is where your body is utilizing ketones for its energy. It crosses the blood brain barrier, plus your brain actually makes its own fat for its energy. But it would prefer to run off of fat. So if you think of sugar as an energy source, it's kind of like kindling. When you start a fire, you want those little pieces of wood shavings because they catch on fire real quick, but they burn up and then they're gone. That's kind of how sugar is in the body. That's why you always need more, need more, need more, is because your body's like, I've already used up that energy. I need more. Once you become fat adapted and your body is using fat, it's more like a piece of charcoal to where it takes a second to get it lit, but once it's lit, it stays lit all day. And it's a cleaner burning energy than your sugar. You have lots of oxidative stresses and stuff that come off of sugar. So fat adaptation is awesome. I have a comment on here. I started to reduce. Hey, you got to do what you got to do on those. I haven't had I have used potatoes in the last 33 years. I actually made a potato poultice. So, like if you have a bee sting or an abscess that's starting from a bite or something, I actually took potatoes. I grow them in a garden. I just don't partake in them because of all the chemicals and stuff. So, if I'm going to eat chemicals, you might as well go grab a can of Lysol and kind of spray it in your mouth. So, let's see the things that you will notice when you first go keto, ketovore, or carnivore is you are going to notice an increase in energy. And it may not be the first couple days because you have to transition. Your body's just really not used to that. So once you do that, your endurance for exercise, and if you're coming from doing zero exercise, that's fine. I came from zero exercise in the beginning, and literally just walking to my mailbox and back was my exercise. Now I do sprinting. I did that this morning. I do sprinting, I do kickboxing, heavy weightlifting, rebounding, things like that. So you can get there. Um, excuse me, the first 9 months I did absolutely no exercise in 1991 because I couldn't. So, but you will notice that you'll notice that you don't get sore after doing like heavy lifting. I will do really heavy lifting, or like this weekend, we walked a lot of miles looking for deer sheds with our dog and stuff. And so up and down creeks, across logs, things like that. And I had no soreness at all. So that's something I appreciate. I hate having a lot of pain afterwards. Hi, weird world. Oh, that's very good, Nick. Yeah, the tablespoon of coconut oil, very, very smart. That is excellent energy for the brain. It's something that I did when I worked at a nursing home. We had an Alzheimer's dementia unit, and we actually implemented coconut oil, MCT oil. We did like bulletproof coffees and stuff like that to help nourish their brain. So good for you. That's very smart. Um, You will also know that you're fat adapted if you're able to skip a meal. Let's say you go to a friend's house and they're having a dinner party and you're like, there's absolutely nothing here that I want to put into my body because I'm going to pay for it, or it's just not. I think of food as fuel. So I think about the gas you put in your car. I'm not going to go buy the junkiest gas and put in my car and expect my car to run like it's on high octane fuel. Same as for your body. Everything that passes your lips has to be broke down by your body and either utilized or gotten rid of as waste. So I like to try to take it easy on my body and put the best stuff in there. So yes, the coconut oil, very smart. And it's cheaper than the MCT. MCT is medium chain triglycerides, which is just coconut oil purified down, basically. So, one thing that you may notice immediately, if you're somebody that gets like bags under your eyes, if you have inflammation in your joints, inflammation is something that absolutely goes down immediately when you cut out carbohydrates. When you do that, though, you have got to make sure that you are taking in some kind of good salt. And no, I am not an ambassador or whatever with them, but you want to make sure you're taking in a good quality salt to keep your electrolytes going up, because when you're losing extra fluid like that, you are going to be losing electrolytes. So please make sure, even if that means salting your food, putting a pinch under your tongue. I make Soleil water, especially during the summer if we're out working in the garden doing stuff like that. Make sure you're keeping your salt up. But just know inflammation, you're going to be using the restroom a lot. So, let's see. Da, 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 da. Yes. So you will, doing this process, you're going to learn your body. You're going to have a better relationship with food. I think a lot of us have had a unhealthy relationship with food. We always think of birthday parties, Christmas, Thanksgiving, blah, 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 retirement parties. It's all centered around usually bad food. What I would say is we need to try to refocus that and be more about the relationships, the people that we're there around or with, and carrying on that as more of why you're going to those parties. I go to birthday parties, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and I always take something with me. I, like I said, keto for 28 years, carnivore almost 5 now. Um, so I just take meat products, fat, you know, or I fast. So you will be able to tell that you are very well fat adapted if you are able to start fasting pretty easily, like 16 hours fasting, 8 hours window for eating. You'll notice. And you'll get better at that. That's another thing. I would follow a doctor on YouTube, Dr. Jason Fung. He's an endocrinologist, and he is somebody that I have his fasting book, and I love it. There's all different types of fasting for healing. I will tell you, if there is anything in your background of your life that you haven't quite worked through yet, like with a counselor or just on your own, you are going to come up against that. So be prepared that you are going to work through things that you maybe were not expecting to work through, because when you're not spending your whole day trying to figure out what to eat, when to plan, what to do, this, that, and the other, and meal prepping, you have a lot of extra time on your hands. So I always say, get a hobby. So my hobby is, I make these natural products out of tallow that keeps me busy. And then I do other things. So The other thing is we have been conditioned over the last so many years. I was born in 71, so it was low amounts of protein. Your meat should be less than the size of the palm of your hand. And when they say palm, they just mean that portion, just this, not the whole hand. I just ate a hamburger patty that was bigger than my entire hand, and I'll have another one probably at 1 o'clock today, but they push you on that. So just know that you're going to have to rewire your brain to utilize proteins and fats. And like I said, if you're transitioning into keto or ketovore, and you're still going to be doing some of the vegetables, you want to stick to your lower carb vegetables. So I'm not a fan of spinach because it has a lot of oxalates, which you can look up oxalates and see what that does to a lot of people. Most people will have trouble with oxalates. But like your broccoli, your asparagus, can't remember the name of those little cabbage things because I don't eat those things. But those are things that you could do and just add lots of butter, things like that. But you want to increase that. I do not count calories, as I said. They do say that you want to make sure you eat until you are full enough that one more bite of steak, burger, chicken, fish, salmon, whatever it is, that you're like, I cannot take another bite. That's when you stop. And a lot of us have been overeaters and undereaters. We've been back and forth. So it is something that you'll learn. Your body will come and learn. So let's see. Like I said, you do want to know what your why is. Um, and I do recommend writing down what your why is. Why are you going to this lifestyle? Are you trying to heal? And it could be an injury, it can be you had surgery and you want to heal faster, less scarring. That's some of the things that I did. The lion diet and the extra fasting. I had a 7.5 hour surgery in 2019 and fasted 7 days prior to surgery, did the surgery, did bone broth that I made the following day, and then did another 7 day fast and healed amazingly quick. I was 50, almost 51 when I did that. So that's how I did it. Let me see the comments here. Oh yeah. Yep, that's a good idea, Nick. I don't do tea. Once in a while, I did coffee this weekend one day. I do Melaleuca, so it's an organic coffee, but I do always put a pinch of that in there because it does cut the bitterness of coffee or tea, either one of those down. But I think adding salt, and the other thing is I'm not somebody that gets a lot of headaches, but if I get a headache, I have found that just taking a pinch of that salt and putting it under my tongue or doing it in water, something I'm going to drink, um, helps with the headache, which means it was, something for dehydration. Do carnivore people like vegetables? Carnivorous people. I think there are some. I do a program, a broadcast with four other ladies on every Monday. We do a broadcast called Meaty Mondays with the Fierce Felines, whether it's on my channel, Healthy Carnivore, or Carnivorous Grandma, Hanging with the Browns, Carnivore Leo, and Carnivore Family are the five entities that we come out. And I don't know that all of them, but a few of those gals do still have like some peppers, some onions. I think some do mushrooms still. And I think it's up to each individual. I don't want everybody to think they have to be as rigid eating as I do. That's just my personality. I do my best and I feel my best when I absolutely avoid all carbs. I don't really even do eggs. Once in a while, I may do an egg yolk, but the egg whites cause histamine release. And I just don't like to be nasally and feel full all day. So I found that even with broccoli, I have a keto mojo, and it also can checks ketones in your blood, and it can check for your blood glucose. And I ate broccoli with nothing but a pat of butter on it, and my blood sugar went up over 300 points, which just shows how quickly my body converts carbohydrates into sugar. We have an enzyme in the mouth called amylase, and that starts to break down the starches and switch it over into sugar. So I was somebody who I just don't tolerate it and I don't need it. There's a fallacy out there about fiber, and people have been, it's been hammered into your heads forever. I can tell you I haven't had fiber in well over 7 years, and I don't have any issues. So, but I do think there are still some carnivores and ketovores, which is just a meat heavy based keto. So they're still doing vegetables every day. I just choose not to. I don't feel well on them. My stomach bothers me. And I'm not going to eat something if it causes me discomfort. So, and the funny thing is, well over 3 years into carnivore, my doctor did labs on me to see what my vitamins, and my minerals, like where my levels were. And mine were excellent, like top of the line. She couldn't believe it. She's been vegan for 25 years and hers are bad. So her AEDK, B12, B6, B3, were all low, which you have to supplement if you're going to try to just eat vegetables. You have to supplement a lot of other things. So that's right. That's right, Nick. That's exactly right. So, um, that is the way the cells work is getting in, the sodium, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, all of those things helps open up the cell and allows the fluid to go into the cell instead of it coming out in urine immediately. So I drink a ton of water and I'm not anymore. In the beginning, I was in the bathroom a lot urinating, but maybe 4 times a day. And I drink a lot of water, but I do have salt in that water. I'm always putting a pinch of salt in there. Yep, you're definitely welcome, Weird World. I like that name. That's pretty awesome. Um, and everybody, like I said, everybody's individual. Our DNA is different. Our bodies are different. You'll have to tweak if you're wanting to try this lifestyle. You have to tweak it to what makes you feel the best. I will say this, and this is kind of how I came to carnivore. I did a complete elimination while I was doing keto cooking live videos of everything except for meat and fat. And I did that because I was getting nasally and I get a lot of sinus infections. I used to, I don't now. Um, and I was like, I knew I was lactose intolerant, but I just was fighting it. I was like, I like cheese. I want my yogurt. So I went for a week with nothing. And then our first video back, me and a gal that do keto cooking together, we're like broccoli cheese soup. It was wintertime. And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And I took one bite of it while I was doing, the keto cooking. And I was sitting on the couch that later that evening, and my husband's like, Jesus, will you stop with that? And I was like, what? And he's like, do you hear yourself breathing, trying to breathe through your nose? He's like, you sound like you're breathing through a swimming pool. And it was that it had already caused all that inflammation. And so you'll have to pay attention to your body. But I do recommend once you go, even if it's keto, ketovore, whatever it is, I do think that once you're fat adapted, I would do, if you can manage, muster up 30 days of carnivore, I think you will find what foods, what substances cause you issues. So, what I did is like for a week at a time, I would add something in like asparagus. Yep, my joints start hurting. Okay. The milk product, even just a bite, literally sinus. And I was like, okay, got to get rid of that. Um, so you'll just have to try it out for yourself. But I mean, it's wonderful to be able to be so in tune with yourself that you're like, you go out to eat at a restaurant and they always use seed oils. 90% of them use seed oils on their grill. So here you think you're doing good by just getting like a green vegetable and maybe a hamburger with no bun. Doesn't matter because they're cooking it on seed oil and that is so inflammatory. And you'll go home and you'll be like, damn, I feel horrible. Like, what did and then it's like, oh. So I take butter if we're going to go out, which we go out rarely because I'm frugal and I don't like to spend money on stuff. So I would rather shoot my own deer, process my own deer and eat and know what I'm eating. So the other thing is when you have your why as to why you want to try to clean up your diet and get off of pharma's tit is what I'm gonna call it because, um, my doctor tried to throw me on a statin when I was 20 in 1991, and I would have been on that my entire life, and I just refused to do that. I knew that I could change what was happening because I was morbidly obese, and very sick, very, very sick. And I knew that if I changed what I put in my mouth, that I could change how my body reacted to those things. So if you're wanting to get off of that, if you have metabolic diseases, kidney disease, diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, any of those things, I recommend trying this out to see what you can do for yourself. Because the more you can get away from having to go to the doctor, I go one time a year because I'm forced to for my insurance. Otherwise, I don't think I'd probably see them, but every 4 or 5 years. Same with my dentist. Doing this lifestyle led me to doing all natural products. So, like, I make my own remineralizing tooth powder. So I don't have to see a dentist. I don't have cavities. I don't have any issues. So I do that as well because the products we put in our body are horrific enough. But then if you look at the back of the bottles of your shampoo, your deodorants, your lotions, I mean, like this here that I made last night, it is an all natural, unscented deodorant, and it is literally all natural. It is tallow that I have purified. It is cocoa butter. It is shea butter. It's vitamin E, and it's arrowroot powder and baking soda that's aluminum free. I had to think for a minute, which the recipe is on my website because I've done it live several times. But you can put that on and feel confident that you're not putting aluminum in glands that are, less than a foot away from your brain. So once you start cleaning up your diet and the way you eat and looking at food as fuel, you're going to start realizing that all the products you're around, and just how bad they can be for you. So I think you'll start cleaning up all of those things once you get doing this. And if you ever are struggling, I always say reach out, find yourself a tribe. I don't believe that you should only surround your people that are doing exactly the same thing you are, and not being political. But I think when you try to stick with one set of people and that's the only thing, and nobody ever comes at you and questions you, I don't like that. I have friends who are full on vegetarians. I had a friend that was a fruitarian, but that didn't work out so well for her. Um, I mean, we're still friends, but she's very sick. Um, but I like having those people that are different thinking. But I do think that, like, in the beginning when you're struggling, if you're looking for help, you want to look out for like Dr. Barry, Dr. Baker. I just did an interview with him that I shared on my channel yesterday. Um, Dr. Hampton, Dr. Chafee, Kiltz, Hampton. I'm trying to think of all. I mean, Lisa Wiederman. There's just so many people out there. Kelly Hogan is not a doctor, but she's been doing carnivore either over 12 years or over 14 years. So it's nice to have people who have been doing this for a long time that you can get in and contact. I do have a website that, I do some coaching that's available. I have natural products out there, but I have my email listed up here in my description on my page, and I have people reach out that have questions about labs and different things like that, and you're always welcome to do that too. So let's see. Hey, Laura. Oh, wonderful. Oaktown Girl is saying that she's been doing carnivore for just over 4 months and her asthma is improving. Wonderful. I do still take an asthma medication that's an old asthma medicine. That's the only medication I'm still taking. I was born with severe, severe asthma, but the inflammation is down. I don't do inhalers. Like I said, I sprinted this morning and I run at a 9.3 on my treadmill when I'm sprinting inside, and the fastest it goes is 10. And I don't get short of breath. So it absolutely is great for inflammation. 5-minute body. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Follow people that are integrating, some form of exercise. And exercise does not have to look like dumbbells. It can just be walking. If you're chair bound, couch bound, bed bound, just moving your extremities in a purposeful way is wonderful to to build up your endurance. And like I said, my endurance in the beginning was crap. I mean, I literally was walking 25 feet and was getting short of breath and had to stop. And I was 20. So I was sick and I ate the standard American diet and followed my doctor's advice of eating low fat, low amounts of protein. And the protein I did eat was chicken breast and it was as dry as a popcorn fart. And if any of you know how dry that is, it's pretty dry. So, would not ever recommend that lifestyle. I can't think of anybody I would ever recommend doing that. Steak and butter gal. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Bella. She's very good. A good, great person to watch. She's very intellectual. Her and her soon-to-be husband, steak and butter gal guy. They're wonderful people. So yeah, go out there, find some people that do agree with you. But also, I like to listen to those who don't. And I can have debates back and forth with people, no problem, because I have spent 33 years reading, researching, living this lifestyle. And I love science. I'm very geeky. I have a chemistry degree, which is why I can read the labels on the food for people. I shouldn't say food, the Franken foods for people. But you about have to have a chemistry degree to do that. So I always, when I, see people picking up, I'm just like, oh, if you only knew the amount of chemicals that had to go into that Franken food like product to make it taste like chocolate or, oh, it just drives me insane. But you can only help those who are ready to be helped. And there's no shame on them. Some people come on this lifestyle and it takes them 2 or 3 times of trying before they get it. It's just like any other habit when you're giving up sugars and carbs. It's no different than giving up alcohol, cigarettes, drugs of any drugs. That it is hard, and if you fall off the wagon, I will tell you, even if you've been doing carnivore for like 6 months or a year, if you fall off the wagon, you tend to not fall all the way back to where you started from, and it's so much easier to get back on if you do. I've had a lot of people that I have worked with over the last few years that'll be like, "Oh, I ate a piece of birthday cake, but I took the icing off, but I felt like crap for 3 days. I'm not doing that to myself." And I'm like, do a day of fasting, get right back on. And they're like, yeah, it really wasn't that bad once I got past that. But they're like, it puts a little memory thing in there of how bad did you feel? Because nobody wants to walk around feeling like crap. So that's what I would recommend. And like I said, reach out if you have questions. You can do that if you're interested. I'm not a salesperson. But if you're interested in natural products, I have a ton of natural products and candles and stuff that I've been doing because when you eat like I do, I have so much tallow left over that I was like, what am I going to do with this tallow? And then when I started reading, even what they called like native and these other companies, the back of the ingredients was horrific. Sodium lauryl sulfate and hexanes and stuff like that, and I was like, "Oh my god." And so 4 years ago, I just started making my own, like, body lotions and face serums and stuff with natural products. So those are out there on my website. You can get to it by doing russellbrands.com, and that's with a Z, Russell Brands with a Z, or russellbrands.square.site if you're interested. If not, that's okay because I give this stuff to my patients as well. So I'm never going to have a plethora of stuff sitting around for a long period of time. So anyway, I think that's all I'm going to do for today. I need to kind of head and get my stuff put up for the day and get stuff added onto my website and then get to work. I've got people to be poking today. We got some blood draws for my patients. So, everybody have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, reach out. If you have somebody who's starting carnivore and they're kind of scared where to do that, you can always share this with them or send them to me. And I love helping people transition. It is a passion of mine. I do it with as many of my patients that will let me. It is something to see and it's something that I get to enjoy as a nurse is seeing people at their sickest get their best, whether it was having a heart attack, getting a stent, and walking out of the hospital, the next day, or if it's seeing them being poisoned by the food supply and their products they put on to not having those diseases anymore. So that is something wonderful to see. So I totally enjoy that. I'm a geek nerd when it comes to doing that kind of stuff for health. So I appreciate all of you guys watching this. And I will be back on probably, it won't be probably till Monday that we'll do a meeting Monday. So we'll see. I need to start doing some interviews and get some people on. I had G on a week and a half ago, but I need to start doing a few more of those. It's just rough with being a nurse, working full time, and then making all my products, but we'll see what I can do. So, you guys have a great day. As I say when I end all of my videos, meet, heat, eat, and repeat.